Hello guys, welcome back to another video. And in this video we are going to learn how to design this church flyer in Adobe Photoshop. So without wasting time, let's get into the video. So the first thing we are going to do is to create our artboard, and to do that we'll head over to File and click on New. Okay, so the size we are going to use is 1080 pixels by 1350 pixels. So you come here and you enter 1080 for the width and 1350 for the height, and you make sure your dimension is set to pixels, the resolution is set to 300, and the color mode is RGB color. The background content is white, and all the other settings remain the same. So once you are done with your settings, you click on Create. Okay, now so we have our artboard. The next thing we are going to do is to bring in our background, or to work on the background. To do that, we will head over to our folder and bring in our background. Okay, so this is the background. I'm going to reduce it and position it right at the corner here. So I'm going to duplicate it to fill the entire artboard, and to do that, using a Windows machine, you can use Ctrl J or Command J when using a Mac machine. So I will duplicate it and drag it to the side, and duplicate it again and drag it to the side. So I will keep on duplicating until the whole screen is filled. Okay, so once this is done, I can select all the duplicated layers at the top, duplicate it and drag it down. Okay, so I'm going to duplicate this one more time and drag it down to fill the entire screen. Okay, so once we are done with our background, we are going to select all the backgrounds that we've used and group them together. So you can drag across all the screen to select all the backgrounds, or you come to the layers panel, you click on the first layer, you scroll all the way down, hold shift and click on the last layer. It will select all the layers of the background. So once it is selected, you will drag and drop it down here into the folder icon to create a group. So you can see that it has been grouped into one. So when you turn it off, everything will be off, and when you turn it on, everything will be on. So the next thing we are going to do is merge it. So on the folder icon, you will right click, scroll down and click on Merge Group. So this is going to merge it, or this is going to turn it into one shape or one object. Okay, so once we are done with this, we are going to reduce the fill a little bit. Okay, so I think 20 is okay. 20 is okay. So the next thing we are going to do is to write our text, which is the fasting and prayers. So the font I used over here is called Impact. So I'll head over here, select the type 2, and before I do that, I'll come to the layers panel and lock the background. So I'll click on it and click on this padlock icon over here and lock it. So we select our type 2, click on our artboard, and okay, you can see that my font is already selected, which is the Impact. So if you don't have the Impact, you can go on the font or any free font download site to download it. So what I'm going to type is fasting And so I'm going to click on OK and type the prayers differently. So the next thing I'm going to do is to increase the size of our text. Okay, so I think 45 is okay for now. So I'll select the prayers and give it also a font size of 45 and position it right beneath. So I'm going to expand the prayers a little bit to be in the same line with fasten end. Okay, so the next thing I'm going to do is to select the two text and tilt it a little bit. Okay, and position it in the middle. So the next thing I'm going to do is to draw our rectangles. There's two rectangles over here. So to do that, I'll select our rectangular tool and draw a rectangle. Okay, so what I will do next is to bring the rectangle beneath the text and tilt it to be on the same level as the text. Okay, so once that is done, I'll bring it down. I'll bring it down and duplicate it. And duplicate it so you can see it right here. So I'll select the two and bring it down a bit. Okay, so the next thing I'm going to do here is to bring in our image. And to bring in the image, I want the image to be in between the two rectangles. So when you come to the layers panel, you can see the two rectangles. So you select the rectangle below the second rectangle, you select it and bring in the image. By doing so, the image will come in between the two rectangles. So we head over to the folder, select our image and drag it into the frame. Okay, so you can see that one of the rectangle is at the top and the other is behind. So the next thing I'm going to do is click on OK. Right click on the image from the layers panel and click on rasterize layer. Once that is done, at the properties panel, I'll scroll down under the quick actions and I'll click on remove background. Okay, so once the quick action is done with its magic, we are going to resize our image. Okay, so our image is resized. The next thing I'm going to do is to increase the rectangle a little bit. So I'll select the two rectangles. Okay, so I'll select the two rectangles and click on anywhere around the blue lines. So after doing that, I'll head over to the top, and the link between the width and the height, I'll unlink it. So to unlink it, I'll just click here once and it will be unlinked. So I'll just want to increase the length of the rectangle, not its height. So I'll just drag it, hold down shift and drag it forward just a little bit. Now drag it this way also a little bit. So over here you can see that the first rectangle is rather behind and the second one in front. So to do that, we are going to select our rectangle from the layers panel and drag it down behind our image, and select the other one which is below and bring it on top of our image. Okay, so we are done with our rectangle. So the next thing we are going to do is write our 21 days. And to do that, I'll select the type tool and type 21 days. Okay, so I'm going to increase the font size a little bit. Okay, the next thing I'm going to do is to rasterize it. So I'll come to the layers panel, right click and select rasterize type. Okay, so after doing that, I will select the selection tool and select the area I want to cut. So after selecting, I'll hit delete and it will be deleted. So once we are done with the deletion, we will come to select from the top panel over here and click on deselect. Okay, so once we are done, we'll bring it down and tilt it to be in the same position as the main text. Okay, so I'll bring it down. And change the color. I will change the color to the color of the rectangle. So I'll select it, come to FX and click on color overlay. Okay, so I think the color has already been selected. So if yours is on a different color, you click on this color swatch over here and use the color picker to select the color from the rectangle, or you enter the color code, which is 3D 3B and click on OK. Okay, so the next thing we are going to do is to give our font or our text a gradient color. So to do that, we will select the fasten end and we come to the FX panel. You scroll down and click on gradient overlay. Okay, so to get this gradient overlay, what we are going to do is we are going to click on the gradient. Whatever color you have over there is fine. So you click on the gradient, it will open. Then the first color over here, you click on it, click on the color, and you enter the color code FD5C00. Then you click on OK. Then select the second one, click on the color, and enter the color code 9604CO. And click on OK. So that's how we get the gradient overlay. So once we are done, we are going to select the prayers also, come to the effects, scroll down to gradient overlay and click on it. So after doing the first one, your gradient is going to be selected already, so you just have to click on OK. Okay, so once we are done, we are coming to do the same for the rectangle. So we select the rectangle, come to effects, scroll down and click on gradient overlay. And click on OK. Okay, so you click on the second one, head over to effects, scroll to gradient overlay, effects, gradient overlay, and click on OK. So we are done with our gradient. So the next thing we are going to do is this effect over here. You can see there is an effect on the prayer. So to do that, we will select the ellipse tool and draw an ellipse. So we are going to position the ellipse on the prayer. I'm going to tilt it a little bit. I'm going to tilt it a little bit and bring it down. Okay, so I will head over to the layers panel and drag it behind the person. Okay, so I'm going to change the fill color to white. Change the fill color to white and reduce the fill. Okay, so you can see that we have the effect right here. So the next thing we are going to do is to write our information, and we are going to write the date and the year, which is 3rd to 23rd February. So I'm going to select the type tool, change the font to Poppins, and I will change the type to semi-bold for now. So I'll make sure the layers panel, the topmost layer is selected, so that when you type your text, it will be on top of the shape. So I'm going to type the 3rd to 23rd. I'm going to select the text and reduce the font size. Okay, so I'll click on OK and tilt the font a bit. Okay, so I'll position it right here. Click on OK and reduce the font size a little bit more. Okay, so I'll let this go to the top a bit and duplicate it. After duplicating it, I'll bring it down and write February 2025. Okay, so the next thing I'm going to do is to type the 6 p.m. each night. Okay, so I'll duplicate this text over here, bring it all the way here, and type 6 p.m. Okay, so I'll bring it right in the middle, and I'm going to change the font of the 6 p.m. to the impact we just used. And increase it a bit. Okay, so the next thing I'm going to do is duplicate this February here as well. Bring it beneath the 6 p.m. and write each night. Okay, so the next thing I'm going to do is to reduce the font size a bit and position it right under. Okay, so the next thing I'm going to do is to write the location. So I'm going to copy it here. Going to copy it, but let me just grab it and drag it over here. So you can just select the type tool and test it. Because of time, I don't want this video to take longer than expected, so I'll just drag it and bring it here and tilt it a bit. Yeah, so I'll position it right here. Okay, so I'm going to change the color of all these black fonts to white. Okay, so the next thing we are going to do is to bring in our shape. To bring in this shape right here. So to do that, we will go back to the folder and bring in the shapes. Okay, so the shape I used is right here. So what I did is I selected the eraser tool, rasterized the layer, and deleted all the unwanted parts. So I just cleaned all the unwanted parts, and it was left with just what I needed. I'll go back, select OK. I think some of the others are still here. Okay, all right, so I'll select it and drag it right here. I'll reduce the size and link the width and the height and decrease it a little bit. Okay, and I'll link it back. So I'll position it here and tilt it a bit. Okay. So what I'm going to do is to duplicate it and bring it right here. Okay. So once it's here, I'm going to click on Ctrl T. Right, click on it and flip horizontal and tilt it. Okay, So I'm going to change the color of this to this ash color the 21 days is having. So I'll come to the FX color overlay. The color is already selected. I'll click on OK. And I'm going to change this color to white. So I'll select it. Come to FX color overlay and change it to white. Okay, so the next thing we are going to do is to write the name of the pastor. And to do so, I'll select the type tool and change the font to Poppins and regular. So the name of the pastor is Prophet Emmanuel Wolasi. So I'll click here and write Prophet. Okay, so I'll change the color to black. And write his name, Prophet Emmanuel Wolasi. Okay, so I'll reduce the font size okay, so I think this is fine, and position it right here. So I'm going to tilt it just a little. Okay. So the next thing I'm going to write is with. So it's with Prophet Emmanuel Wolasi. So I'm going to select the type tool and write with. Okay, the color is white, so I'll change it to black. The next thing I'm going to do is to change the font, and with this, the font I used was Autograph. So select the Autograph and bring it down. So I'll select the name of the pastor and apply the gradient to it as well. So I'll come to the FX, scroll down to gradient overlay and click on OK. Okay, so the next thing we are going to do is to write the name of the church. So the name of the church is Congress Chapel International. So I'm just going to pick the name of the church, or I'm going to copy it. I'm going to copy it from this side. So I'll select the type tool and paste the name of the church over here. So Congress Chapel International. House of Increase, Kumasi branch. So I will duplicate this and drag it here. Make sure it's aligned perfectly. Then I'll type in the House of Increase, Kumasi branch. Okay, so I'm going to move this forward a bit, and the next thing we are going to do is to draw a rectangle to divide the two. So I'll select the rectangular tool and drop a very tiny rectangle. Okay, so the next thing I'll do is to bring in the logo. So I'll pick the logo from here. Okay, so what I'm going to do next is select the name of the church and the logo and tilt it also a little bit. Move it a little bit to the center. So once that is done, we are going to move 21 days fasting and prayer down a bit so that we can write present over here. So I'm going to select and bring it down a bit. Okay, so I'll select the type tool, change the font to Poppins, select regular and type presents. Okay, so I'll reduce the size of the font. Bring it right here. And as usual, I'm going to tilt this also a little. Okay, so the last thing we are going to do here is to edit the image or the picture. So I'll select the picture, come to filters panel, scroll down to camera raw filter and click on it. Okay, so we are going to give our image a little bit of exposure. Okay, and I'll give it a little bit of contrast. Scroll all the way down, give it a little texture and clarity, and just a little bit of the haze. I'll click on OK. Okay, so you can see our image or our picture is looking much better. So for those using the latest version of Photoshop, you can also select the adjustment brush tool and give it a little bit of glow. So you can see that we are giving him a little bit of glow. Okay, so this is the before and this is the after. You can see the difference. Okay, so this is how I designed this church flyer in Photoshop. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.